So Milspouse Fest is a day where we get to bring together as many military spouses as we possibly can for a free day of food, laughter, a little bit of education, and just fun. We're already seeing connections being made, which is really why we're here. We want to bring together these spouses and have them get connected and make a friend and maybe a career network or something else along down the line.
I never thought I would be a military spouse. We have military in our family, but I didn't grow up around it. I lived in the same house for 30 years.
We see some males here today, which is awesome because there's a stereotype that they don't exist, and they do.
If you are a military spouse and you are a male and you do not have a sense of humor about yourself, you are in very, very hard slog.
I am so excited that we have this for spouses. It's something new that Military One Click and USAA, the title sponsor, started last year, and it's being so well received. You know, as you see, we've got over 250 spouses or more. You know, I don't even know how many are in that room, but it's really making an impact, and you can see the difference in the energy in the room just in a few hours.
So Judy Davis was our first keynote speaker, and she did a little segment called You Unleashed, and it's all about finding who you want to be in this crazy military world and embracing it and going forward. And then we had JJ, who's always awesome. He's with USAA, he's a financial planner, and it's always our #1 biggest hit.
She said she's been driving her car for 15 years. Come give me a hug. Yeah, there you go.
JJ gives some awesome tips on how to make sure that all your finances are taken care of, and if anything comes your way, you're ready to go.
But if you're really looking at making a dent in your debt, maybe you need to look at those big ticket items, like cars, like housing.
My husband's a pilot, and so for years and years and years, you're scared that they're not going to come home. And you need to have all those ducks in a row, and you need to make sure that you're prepared for that day that you don't ever really want to talk about, but you need to talk about it.
You know, a lot of times spouses just feel like you have to just get through it and you have to suck it up and just move forward, and everybody does this and you're not the only one. But then you talk to your family and your friends and you really kind of are the only one.
Having 2 young children in the military, it becomes very difficult when you have to move around so many times. My oldest is in 5th grade and she's on her 6th school. So establishing a good support system is very important for military spouses.
I always say that you can live anywhere. I've lived in some places that I don't ever want to go back to, but if you've got that network and you've got that connection, it doesn't matter where you are.
Milspouse Fest is really quite helpful to connect you to people with similar backgrounds and that truly understand where you're coming from.
This last move that we've just made into the Bay Area in San Francisco, not a military community at all, and you can totally feel the difference. Like, I'm struggling with that right now. My kids are great, they go to school, and 3 days later they're like, oh, I got friends, Mom, can I go on a play date? And I'm still sitting at home going, I really wish I had a Milspouse Fest in San Francisco.
To find the next Milspouse Fest in your area, visit militaryonclick.com. Coming up,
I had a hard time figuring out who I was as a military spouse, and I think that that's very common to a lot of spouses. It's like everything focuses on the service member, and it's really hard to find yourself within this lifestyle.
USAA celebrates the strength behind the service.
Military spouses are such a key component to the military community. They are the CFOs of their families. They run everything when their spouses are out to sea or overseas on deployments. So making sure that the military spouse community is healthy and that they have the support and education resources they need is vital to the well-being of our military community as a whole.
I have been very blessed by the military lifestyle and the opportunities that we've had living in different countries, living among different cultures, watching my children grow up in overseas locations, and building the friendships and the network that I've had over the course of the year. So even our first assignment, I have friends from that assignment that maybe there's miles and time separated from when I've seen them the last time, but they'll be there. If I ever need something, they will be the first ones to show up.
I don't know about you guys, but for me, being the best version of myself is a challenge as a military spouse. Can anyone feel me with that? You know, it's not always easy to do that.
Judy Davis is known by military spouses around the world as the Direction Diva. She's a motivational speaker, entrepreneur, author, and expert on military life and small business success. She provides advice to spouses on living a balanced life while juggling their busy military lifestyle. Welcome to Hiring America.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
We all know how stressful it can be, running a household, kids, a job. How is it particularly stressful for military households?
You know, I think that we just have that extra layer of chaos on top of just regular life. You know, we are dealing with being parents and juggling our careers and being supportive and having family and friends, along with struggles and challenges of deployments and temporary duty assignments and constant moves every 2.5 years. So it's just takes everything up a notch and causes a lot of stress and angst a lot of times in the military families.
You are a military spouse yourself, can speak from personal experience. Share with us your story.
Oh gosh, we have a very unique story. About 9 years ago, my husband came home. He was a corporate executive in Michigan at the time. Came home one afternoon and said, "Babe, I am done with corporate life." And, you know, my jaw dropped and said, "Okay, well then what do you want to do?" And he says, "I want to put my uniform back on and serve." And, you know, after a whole lot of, "Well, really?" and shock, next thing we knew, our family was on our way to our first duty station, which was El Paso, Texas, Fort Bliss.
So how do military spouses find their place?
You know, it's trial and error a lot of times, and also surrounding yourself with positivity and people that can really support you in getting through the challenges and working towards what you want to do with your life. I think that any spouse can do what they're passionate about. They just have to do it in a unique way because of the differences in our lifestyle.
What do you mean unique way? Give us an example.
For myself, I, decided to kind of take hiatus and get my bearings again and learn how to thrive as a military spouse. I mean, learn just the ins and outs of daily living before I even approached getting into my career again. That ended up happening very oddly. Just was attending a spouse event and the speaker got sick minutes before she was supposed to go on stage. And they were like, "Judy knows how to speak." So I ended up going and delivering the keynote for that event, and afterwards just started mentoring the young spouses, helping them deal with marriage because, we at the time we had already been married for 16 years, so I kind of was an old pro at dealing with being married. And so it was easy for me to give them advice on how to have a healthy relationship in the context of military life. So often they see the challenges and they feel very negative about the military experience or feel that they can't do what they want to do. But the reality is they just don't have the healthy coping skills that empower them to be what they want and live their best life.
So what are those healthy coping skills?
It can be something as simple as surrounding yourself with people that are supportive. I call it flush the stress. And, there's ways that you have to make yourself a priority. So often spouses are so used to giving, and they don't take time to take care of themselves and deal with the stress and the angst and worry that is just part of our lifestyle. Fear is a huge part of it, but we don't have to be all consumed by it. If we learn how to kind of embrace fear and let it go and just acknowledge that it's part of our lifestyle, we can move past it instead of being stopped by it. There's a lot to fear in military life. There's stuff happens, and you don't want to ignore it, but you also can't let it overtake your life.
You spoke a lot today about friendship and the importance of that to one's mental health. How does that relate to military spouses?
Well, having a good support system is key to being able to just deal with those day-to-day things. There's this thing that people tell us, you're supposed to just put your big girl panties and roll on. That's a saying that we say a lot, and I don't really believe that. I think that with the right support system around you and people that can see your differences as an asset is really important.
There's so much talk about a support system. But it sounds a lot easier, I imagine, than it is to just get one when you're constantly relocating, right, to
Exactly.
a new place. So how do you find a permanent support system?
It's one of those things I always encourage people, get off of social media. I love social media as a way to stay in contact, but it's not a great place to make contacts. And there's nothing that can replace a personal connection. And, if there was one thing I would tell new spouses, old spouses, any spouses, is get out there and meet people in person. Whether it's go sit in a coffee shop and look for someone else sitting by themselves. It's one of those things that if you get out in your community, you will be healthier and happier and find that balance you're looking for.
We'll be back with more from the Military One-Click Milspouse Fest in a moment. You carry a piece of your husband with you all the time, even though he's all the way in Afghanistan. Tell us more about that.
So my husband deployed a little around a year ago. He's been gone for almost a year. And when he deployed, he knew he couldn't wear his wedding band. So I've been wearing it every day since he's left. We don't get to talk every day, unfortunately, but I always have a piece of him wherever I go, whether I'm traveling for my business or whether I'm sitting at home or sitting behind my desk in an office. I have him with me, and that helps me feel closer to him, even if I don't have that opportunity to talk to him today or tomorrow or a week from now.
So what are some of the challenges you faced as a military spouse?
So often finding a career is about who you know. So moving to a new place, not knowing a single soul, and then starting to apply for jobs is kind of an unknown process. And especially for us, where we were stationed in San Diego, which was a huge city with tons of opportunities. And then we moved to Gulfport, Mississippi, which obviously doesn't have as much industry, not as many businesses. So I had very large gaps on my resume when we finally decided to transition out, but I think it made me stronger, definitely taught me resilience. It's a humbling process, but you gain so much in the process too.
The biggest personal struggle I had was employment. So I went to school late. I didn't go to college until after I got married. And then when I was ready to start work, I was in a location where I couldn't find employment. And then there were times where I wanted to be at home because I knew that we were only going to be there for 10 or 14 months. And was it really worth it for me to go get a job when I could be at home and really be engaged in my kids' life at that time? So I've had different opportunities. My resume, just like a lot of other military spouses, is very patchwork. But now to have the opportunity to be able to give back to my family and be part of the breadwinning, equation in our future is really rewarding to me. I feel that the experiences that I've had over the last 29 years as a military spouse has really put me in a position to be where I'm at today.
Your work centers on military spouses finding balance and clarity, reducing stress,
Right.
increasing success. So let's focus on 3 different areas and give us the popular advice that you provide: military life, emotional wellness, and business advice.
So military life, this life is an opportunity if you choose to see it that way. I would encourage spouses not to look at it as a burden. Just because so much is in the control of someone else does not mean that you don't have control of your life. You can take control just in different ways, and that's a learning curve. Learning how to do that is part of the challenge, but it's also part of the reward. Because as you move forward, you'll grow as a person, and you'll be a different person tomorrow than you were today.
Emotional wellness.
Emotional wellness. Well, that one is one we could talk about for days. But emotional wellness, I think, we don't take care of ourselves enough. We don't do the things we know we should do. And in order to be emotionally well, you have to deal with your feelings. And pretending they don't exist is
like kryptonite. It will literally take you down faster than anything else. And I think the biggest piece of emotional wellness is the stress relief. You know, make sure that you have ways to relieve the stress in your life, because if you don't do that, it will creep up on you and really hurt you.
Lastly, business advice.
Business advice, you can really and truly run a business as a military spouse. And I encourage you, if you have a dream, to find ways and people that have done it and pick their brain. Find a mentor. I think that is the key to having a business, and quit reinventing the wheel. There are some great organizations and companies that are doing great things that you may be a perfect fit for, or you can provide a service to fill a hole they have. Find the thing that isn't being done. I started as a blogger and a talker, and there are plenty of military spouse bloggers and talkers that, honestly, they're probably way better than I am. But I took that niche of the emotional side of military life instead of the logistics and carved a place for my message.
For military spouses who are watching, what kind of advice would you want them to walk away from after listening to this interview?
There's no one right way to be a military spouse. Be yourself. And you have things that you're going to do great, and you have things that you're just going to screw up. That's just the reality of it. And that's okay. If you look at it like that, then you look for people that have your strengths or you have theirs, and then you work together and you're stronger together. So find that tribe, find those battle buddies, and find those people that can support you as you move through the challenges.
What's your message to other military spouses?
I would say that to other military spouses that you are so much stronger than you think you are. So many times I had friends and family say, how do you do this? How do you go 6 months without seeing your husband? How do you move to a new place where you've never been before and know no one? And through the process, you realize that you are so much stronger than you think you are. And you have a strength inside you that you would never know that you had until you're tested. So to truly just be yourself and believe in yourself and know that you've got this. And on the days that you don't have it, because you absolutely will have days where you do not have it, there is an enormous amount of support, an enormous amount of resources that are there to help you along the way.
Hiring America will be back in a moment. This week, Hiring America and Virginia Values Veterans honors the Northern Virginia Technology Council.
Thanks for watching. The information we just shared is all on our website, hiringamerica.net. Log on and find out about companies who are hiring veterans. And don't forget to connect with us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, where you can find helpful tips and find full episodes of the show. I'm Lauren Wonko. Join us again for another episode of Hiring America.